Hi, I'm Bhuvana Subramanyan here, Chief Cloud Evangelist at Intuitive.Cloud and AWS Hero and Ambassador from India. Today, we are diving into how cloud native modernization and AI ML are not just buzzwords. They are truly reshaping how businesses innovate, compete, and grow in this digital age. Joining me are two visionary leaders, Jay Modh, CEO of Intuitive.Cloud, who partners with Fortune 1000 customers across the globe to unlock measurable business value through cloud and AI, and Praveen Jayakumar, Head of AML Solutions Architecture at AWS India, who drives large-scale AI adoption, enabling enterprises to leap from experimentation to execution. Our goal today is to explore how intelligent infrastructure, data-centric strategies, and AI at scale are driving real transformation and what it means for enterprises ready to lead in the next decade. As a premier tier partner of AWS, I would like to ask this question to both of you, Jay and Praveen. Cloud native is foundational. How does it translate to business agility today? Jay, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, cloud native is basically built for cloud, delivered in cloud at scale, right? That is my simple layman's term definition of cloud native. End of the day, the way the world is moving, IT has become not just the enabler, now it's a core function for any business. To move at the speed of business is critical. Sometimes IT has to even drive the acceleration for the business, right? So in either of the scenario, cloud native is that enabler and the catalyst, right? What we are seeing today is that ISVs, horizontal or vertical ISVs, driving business solutions, or industries which are delivering some of the technology-enabled solutions for their customers. They need to move pretty quickly. They need to scale up and scale down and not end up having a lot of technical debt in the event that they are not using the scale that is built. So cloud native is really the enabler for the speed, agility, and acceleration to deliver business outcomes. So for me, every enterprise and across industry verticals are using cloud native to drive that acceleration and agility.
Thank you, Jay. Praveen, what is your thought on that?
So when you look into this generative AI, something buzzword these days, right? So if you take a step back and look into it, there was a period of time when a lot of people were talking about machine learning, deep learning models in 70s and 80s. And then there was a period of time where what they call it as an AI winter that kind of came in actually, right? And now suddenly all of these things have picked up. So if you go back, look into it, I see there are two major reasons that happened. One, there is a lot of data. As we speak now, there are tons of us producing in our phones. We are producing data, multiple different data that is available. And then the next biggest thing is that cloud made sure that it democratized the whole AI thing basically, right? So it made access to GPUs, AI accelerators very, very easy. So that kind of started this whole momentum actually, right? So from my perspective, all we see around the generative AI bringing business agility and all of those stuff, it came from how people could use cloud and how cloud made it easy for people to use it actually, right? So in that way, I feel cloud has kind of opened up the whole business agility part of it actually.
Yeah, and the businesses adopt pretty quickly now, right? So when they saw the outcomes and the results from adopting cloud and the whole cloud native movement, they realized that we don't need to have massive investments upfront. It could be incremental investments. It could be operational expenses. So CapEx, OpEx dilemmas are solved for the most part. So I think just giving that flexibility, that elasticity, that scale, and ability to experiment, ability to fail, ability to restart without having to incur massive CapEx, I think, cloud native solved that for it. And then with the emergence of data and AI, it was no-brainer that I can not only use my internal data, I can purchase the data, I can do synthetic data creation, experimenting,
That's a big thing.
right? So I think because you have a cloud native stack that you are running, that agility, and it's also change in behavior and the culture and the mindset. Before it used to be like all or none. So I think the cloud native adoption is gone significant, but what I see is it is going to be 10x from in next few years.
Because irrespective of the industry or irrespective of the vertical, it's making a huge impact in every
as
field.
Jay said, for me, the biggest thing with cloud is the ability to experiment, right? And now I can, as we say, fail fast, right? So I can try out something and I'm not going to spend a huge capex, right? So that has made a lot of business to try out new things, right? So I think that's a big win for me when I talk about agility that cloud has brought about.
Yes, translating from experimentation to execution is pretty fast with the cloud. That's where people go for it. Okay, and when we talk about AML, AML is moving from pilot to production.
Yeah.
And what is the one thing that is fueling this shift, and how are the challenges being tackled?
Okay, so probably I'll start off.
Yeah.
So if you look into, when ChatGPT came in like November 2022, so in 2023 people were talking about, they were doing a lot of proof of concepts and pilots actually, right? So multiple customers were doing it, and in 2024 we saw a lot of customers taking some of these proof of concepts into production, right? And if I look into customers who are able to successfully move some of these generative AI applications into production, there are one major thing or two major things that I see. They are a pretty strong way to evaluate the outcomes actually, right? One thing is that, as you see, every 2 weeks once, there is a new and better model that is coming out, right? So if I'm going to use an older model, then probably I'm losing out on a lot of things. But if I use a newer model, then I need to know that it works for my use case or not, right? So having a better, good evaluation right at the start of proof of concept itself, establishing that becomes key, and customers who have done it, they are able to take it into production very, very easily. So evaluation is the key first thing that I see. The second thing is about the traceability, right? And that too with agents, people call 2025 the year of agents. In fact, I read today somebody, Andrew Karpathy, said that 2025 is a decade of agents actually, right? And with agents, traceability becomes a lot more important. You want to know why a certain large language model was called, which agent was called. You might want to go back, trace it, right? For that, implementing again, traceability becomes a key. And you cannot do it at the middle of the project. You have to get that during your proof of concept and pilot state, right? And customers who are able to do it, those are the ones I'm seeing that they have been successful in production, right? So for me, those two becomes really, really key actually.
Okay. And this progress which has happened in the last 3 years is because of the availability of cloud resources at your disposal at all the time, right? Which is...
Yeah. So that is definitely a factor. But then we are also having the whole generative AI thing, right? And also a lot of other reasons, right? If you take generative AI, just that space alone, models have become better. The reasoning capabilities have become better. And again, that is also because of the cloud, right? Because these model providers were able to train the models faster, better. So all of those things are possible, right? So cloud has definitely played a part. But just talking on what makes a pilot or a POC to get into production, at least in the generative AI space, these two makes very, very important, right? As I said, evaluation,
transparent,
tracing to identify how our particular journey has happened. You go back and look into it, because one of the challenges with generative AI models is that you might ask a question, it will give you an answer. If I ask a question, I may not get the same answer back, right? So unless you have a good tracing, how do you go back and evaluate what has happened, right? Those are some of the things that it helps in the journey actually.
So Jay, we have around 9 PhDs at Intuitive.Cloud.
Right.
So how is the journey with working on these AML solutions for customers and the response from them?
So I'll go back to the fundamentals and basics of business, right? So business understands one language, which is outcome and ROI, right? GenAI solved. So somebody mentioned, right, it's like GenAI is too much of noise and not much has materialized in revenue. I'm like, that's too quick of a judgment to make. Businesses are understanding, they're using it. Even in the emergence of agentic AI, right? Generative AI is one of the key components. Anything that you are touching operations, anything that is a task driven, anything that is an analysis, anything that is reasoning, you're talking about generative AI, right? Today, if you look at it, right, any chat GPT or any other model, similar models that are out there are hundreds of millions of users. People have stopped using Google search and they are using any form of chat GPT.
Of course.
Right? That itself has delivered a value at a consumer level. Now look at the business level. Businesses want to say, hey, if I'm investing X amount of dollars in cloud or in IT, what am I getting in return? If I had gone 3 years back and asked a CFO and said, give me X million dollars a year for AWS funding so that I can move all of our data in AWS. And the answer is, well, you know what, this can wait. I don't think this is a priority. The moment I said, hey, here's a GenAI use case, I can solve your customer churn prediction quickly. I can do contact center AI. I can solve this many challenges. And for that, I need my data in public cloud. And I need to have a proper data architecture, data implementation, ingestion, streaming, visualization, quality management, reporting, all of that stuff. The simple answer is, don't worry about all of that, just get it done. Whatever is needed, let me know, but I need this GenAI solutions in place. So the whole tone and the language change, and that's what is driving the adoption. End of the day, as I said, simple ROI. If you don't measure something, you're not going to be able to improve.
Yeah.
GenAI solved some of the challenges, and even going back, right, this whole concept of AI is taking away jobs and stuff. So actually, GenAI today is taking away inefficiencies.
Exactly.
Right? Simple thing, right? If I had to do some research, I had to go 6 different links, 6 different pages, and I had to type in proper English, right? Right now, generative AI, you just look at the app, you talk in any language you do, uses NLP, translates what your intent is, what the context is, what I'm trying to do. I can even set the context. And now I'm asking for an answer and I'm getting a summarized answer. Now my 87-year-old grandfather sends me a message written by ChatGPT. To me, that's a perfect business outcome. He does not have to ask me basic questions. So Gen AI is real. Adoption from pilots to production are happening. We're doing it at scale, right? More importantly, it actually fueled the foundation, growth for the foundation for agentic AI and a larger AI adoption. Now, every customer has a role for chief data officer. The enterprises didn't have it. Some large enterprise had it. A lot of mid and small enterprise and the mid-market customers didn't have a chief data officer role. They now have chief data and AI officer role, and there is somebody who is focused on it, right? Because they realize that there's so much of inefficiency in operations, in business that can be remediated.
That's true. That's true. Like everybody's long-term vision has become a short-term goal with the help of generative AI. That's when we are moving from pilot to production faster. Mm-hmm. And your answers are really great. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next one. It's again in line with AML and other stuff. GenAI is more than a hype, right? Whether it's delivering a real value today to the customers.
So absolutely right. So one of them for me, 2 years back, if somebody would have come and said that FSI as an industry would be the biggest consumer of it, I would have actually doubted them, right? But now I see, even in India, a lot of banks, a lot of the financial institutions, those are the ones who's using generative AI extensively, actually, right? These banks, I'm not even talking about the new age banks. These are traditional banks that we see, right? They are the ones that is, because when I think about it, they are the ones who deal with a lot of unstructured content, right? So just not banks, if you take insurance, right? Insurance companies, tons and tons of unstructured content, right? Let's say if you go to an health insurance company, they have to deal with your blood test reports, which comes in paper in India most of the times, right? Or hospital bill again comes in paper, right? So there is a lot of unstructured content which they have to deal with. So now I look back, I see that, okay, that's the best use case for them, right? So it's happening. I kind of have in India, there are multiple companies that have taken into production, and I've seen the ROI as well, right? End of the day, it's just not a toy project that is, they have put it in production, right? You need to see the value as well. There are multiple companies that we have seen getting into production and getting the benefit out of.
True. I mean, GenAI is really rocking today in AWS Summit keynote, Sandeep, that I was talking about how one of the food delivery app is processing the image with twists getting processed in 48 hours, now down to 8 hours, which is unimaginably a huge jump, right?
Absolutely.
So Jay, can you add some of your thoughts to it, right? Is GenAI still a hype?
No,
Value to the business.
it is not, right? It started as hype. I must say that, right? So everybody wanted to do it without having data. They wanted GenAI work. So the ones who jumped in without a lot of thinking, they failed, and that's why they said, hey, this is not really working. And then there used to be social media posts and say, look how stupid GenAI is. And I asked this question, they gave a bad answer. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't fit the right data, right? Now, the world has understood that the data is the most important thing. Data quality management, data governance, data security, data privacy. A lot of these issues are demystified, right? So now people have core frameworks in place, they have reference architecture in place, they have policies in place, and now they're seeing more and more accurate outcomes for use of GenAI. Major health system that we work with today, right? Contact center AI is a big use case, right? Lots of inefficiencies that existed that are being solved now. Even the major providers, application providers for health systems are coming up with their own version of GenAI trained on their specific curated data, right? And then that would feed into overall agentic AI system where you can, or MCP servers and other, new solutions that are coming up, where their processed and curated outcomes are shared with the other agents, right? Other systems of records, right? So your ServiceNow, Salesforce, your Jira, Confluent, DevRev, any other systems you have, CRM, ERP, and service management, they're all collaborating to give you very meaningful outcome. That already has started happening. And GenAI is the key component, right? Where a lot of contextualized information going back to the end user is working now, right? If you look at financial services, anything to do with consumers, right? And I'll tell you that GenAI's biggest success has been on the consumer side.
Yeah.
Anything on consumer, right? It's an app, it's a B2C, it's a patient or a retail customer. Everybody's using GenAI at scale now, and people are also trained on it. So I think it's no longer the hype, it's used at scale in production. Matter of fact, we saw yesterday Nykaa and a few other companies presented. I think they are taking this head on. They are providing GenAI solutions out of the box to say, you know what, if I want to pick up the next makeup that I want to do, like you put your image in, and I'm sure tomorrow they're going to say, okay, with your face, this 20 different colors of combination, this is your because
it is transforming business.
It is changing the way people shop. It is changing the behavior. So I think it's real. It's happening.
So I just want to add one more point to what Jay said, right? Around the data itself. Now when I see agentic AI, the companies that has invested in data, right, add a right microservices, they are the ones that is extremely successful, because in the agentic world, you need what they call it as tools, APIs, microservices exposed. So if you have previously invested on your data platform, have that already ready, and those are the companies that is able to make a lot of success in that space, right? So the data also becomes very, very critical in that aspect.
So when you have right set of tools and the right data, GenAI is definitely a boon rather than just a hype that we call it, right? Okay.
We actually should stop calling GenAI agentic AI. We simply should stick to AI. Yeah. How you are augmenting and driving outcomes, right? What tools you use, what math, it's pretty much, irrelevant. I mean, it's technically it is relevant, but like general term is AI. And we are now making more intelligent artificial intelligence in place to drive business outcomes, right? So today it's again, it's Gen AI, and then you have agentic AI, and you have MCP servers, and there's newer things that reasoning models are coming out, and there's going to be next and the next, right? The robots are going to do work for people as human, like as good as human. At least that's what we hope for in next 30, 40, 50 years or sooner. So, and
you can take Amazon Fulfillment Center as an example, right? Where there are a lot of robots now doing a lot of otherwise a human, so some of the tough work that needs to be done now is being done by robots actually, right? So,
True. I mean, even I got an opportunity to work with some of the AWS leaders like Raja and Anupam, who are working on AI-driven development lifecycle. It's going to reshape the way we look at development, how we are going to transform business ambition into code with the speed of thought, not just kind of user stories or the intent into a code with the traditional development methodologies. I think the AI-driven development methodologies with the aid of GenAI-related tools, or let me put it across the AI tools, it is going to reshape the development itself. Right?
Yeah, completely agree.
Well, now like you both are leaders in a different set. So I want to ask something about the leadership mindset. How have the CXOs shifted their view of cloud and AI from the cost center to the growth engine?
From a cost center to a growth engine, right? So, I'll just go back, right? So with machine learning, see, one of the challenges, so this is one of the discussion that we already had, right? It brings you this experimental mindset, right? Now I can research, which was unthinkable before because I have to invest a lot of capex. Now I can quickly go research. If it fails, I can fail fast, move on actually, right? So that has become a very, very important thing. And then all the CXOs have realized that actually, right? And also things around, you talked about AI bringing complete revolution into the SDLC process itself actually, right? I've seen places where customers, the same work that would have taken by 10 developers, now they are able to do it with 6 or 7 developers actually, right? So they are seeing the productivity improvement that comes in. I think that naturally brings in a shift to the CXO mindset is what I would think actually.
For me, it's a simple thing, right? It's time to market is one thing that's significantly reduced because, again, all the elasticity and CapEx versus OpEx, ability to experiment quickly, scale up, scale down. Second is, this is also a movement that is allowing CXOs to transform the way their applications function, the way the data is treated and curated, right? So I think everybody's understanding that this is a great opportunity to unify your data, to modernize your application stack. So it's an opportunity to transform. That's why it's no longer considered as a cost center, but an opportunity to propel the growth. Other thing is that if you don't do it, somebody else is already doing it. So for you to drive competitive advantage, now the boardroom discussions, and again, I've been observing and listening to so many of these conversations. It is literally the person who did not understand technology much is asking a simple 2 questions. 1, what are we doing on AI and how secure are we? Right?
And that's a boardroom conversation.
So now CXOs don't really have to justify why. They have to justify how and how fast.
Correct.
Agree. Right? Or how and when. So I think it's no longer, cloud versus on-prem discussion. It's about how fast we can move to drive the competitive advantage to stay relevant and deliver better business outcomes.
And it's no longer, it's only the IT department's decision, right? It's the business decision on how you can bring in value to the entire organization.
For me, everything is facts and data and numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Just look at the AI companies' market valuation, right? That explains everything. They're not just growing. It needs a lot of belief, right? It needs institutional investors to believe in it. It needs retail investors to believe in. Now, if the consumer believes that AI companies are real and they are making significant impact on the industry and our lives, then boards and CXOs are the execution arm of people's belief, right? So what you're going to drive, I think in my view, it's no longer even a conversation. Now, the biggest worry that exists is, okay, we are adopting things much faster pace, better than before. The security and the risk is becoming the major
question I have.
challenge. Yeah. So,
Sorry,
yeah. But yeah, they both go hand in hand, right? Innovation and security is always, because the bad actors are also using that same innovation
technology
and technology to exploit the resources, right? So that is a challenge that we all have to worry about. And I think, again, we partnered with AWS for 8 years now, right? At full scale from both core AWS as well as AWS ProServe. And we always, both AWS and Intuitive has always pushed customers about security. We are quite adamant to not do execution if customer doesn't comply and meet certain cybersecurity standards that we have put in place, right?
Yep.
So I think we are quite ahead of it. But again, everybody is going to get compromised at some point of time. It's about who versus when. But end of the day, we are taking all humanly possible steps to protect against potential security threats and vulnerabilities and issues. If it is, be it related to AI adoption or platform engineering or platform development or product engineering, end of the day, whatever innovations that are happening at a extreme fast pace, it brings its own challenges. And I think we are doing our due diligence and our due course of action that we are taking to secure that.
So just to add on the security in AWS, we call that as job zero. Job zero, right? So before even we do anything, that's the first thing that we work on, right? Be it any service solution, make sure that it's secure. You bring in all the controls in place. Then only we even start building or think about anything that happens on the product. That's pretty.
So I think these days, security, observability, and FinOps are becoming the pillars of the sustainable growth, right? So what is your thought on observability and FinOps?
Yeah, so again, Bhuvana, going back to the first thing, if you don't measure something, you can't improve, right? Observability provides you that measurement and the view into what's happening, right? The threats and attacks are getting much more advanced and smarter. So if you don't have a view into what's happening, it will be devastating. FinOps is critical because all of this costs a lot of money, right? The organizations, now going back, first, is cloud real? Yes, cloud is real. Is cloud native is the way to go? Yes, cloud native is way to go. Is modern application stack is a way to go? Yes, modern application is the way to go. Is AI real? Yes, AI is real. GenAI is real. GenAI is real. Agentic AI, yes, we have to do it. Now, for all of this to work, we need to do data. The data quality, ingestion, streaming, all of that has to happen. All of that costs money. The budgets have exploded quite big. So now FinOps becomes a core part of it, right? If you don't watch the expenses, then you may have a different type of a conversation than innovation. So end of the day, observability and FinOps are core component, and they cannot be the aftermath. They have to be part of it day one in your framework, right? If you don't do it today, you will regret later, right? So I think in our view, as much security is important, observability and FinOps is something that we lead with. Part of our Intuitive's delivery framework, those three things are ingrained day one.
Yeah.
And AWS does the same thing.
So I'll talk about the security aspects of it, right? On the two, with generative AI world, how does the security work? See, there are, it goes back to the first question that we spoke about, how do you take it into production? What are the challenges, right? The biggest challenge, let's say, if a customer takes a chatbot, how do you make sure that people are not talking about something, politics, religion, and all of those stuff, right? So you need controls around it, right? And that's where the whole concept of things like guardrails and other things comes into picture, right? And then the next big challenge that typically happens in a production environment, right? How do you avoid hallucination, right? With generative AI model, the way it works, hallucination will be there actually, right? I mean, the model's hallucination has reduced in the last 1 year when I look at it has reduced significantly, but there is an hallucination, right? How do you make sure that when it's a B2C facing application that you're using, how do you make sure it's not hallucinating, right? So again, that becomes very, very critical, right? And that is where you see a lot of research is happening around that place. In fact, specifically in Amazon, we released this feature called automated checks, where it can identify whether a model is hallucinating or not, whether it is giving a correct or a wrong response, so that you could stop it before it talks to a customer or gives the data to a customer, right? So security is critical. I mean, that it comes in different formats. So making sure that you are delivering the right thing to the customer becomes very, very important, right? And then talking about FinOps, so these models are, basically, let's say if somebody using a GPU machine, you need to make sure that it is used, because these are expensive machines, right? Are they using it correctly, right? Is it fully utilized, right? All of those stuff comes into picture, and I strongly believe that every customer who's using it or a partner using it should have a framework to monitor it and then manage it actually, right? And that becomes critical, and that's where people like you come in and then kind of can help the customers over there actually.
Okay, thank you, Jay and Praveen. When we talk about asking a simple question to the LLM, we'll have to first ensure with the guardrails that the prompt is not coming with any kind of incorrect or inappropriate content in the question itself, right? First, that has to be filtered out. You need to have guardrails in place for that. And then when it enters into the next stage of you're trying to retrieve the content from the context which is provided. So we'll have to see whether the context is in the data. So you need to have LLM as a judge at every point in time to validate the data, whether it is there in the content, or after you generate the answer to the question, it's most importantly a mandatory thing to verify and validate that it is not hallucinating. And then all these security are very, very important. And we talk about observability and FinOps.
Yep.
So as Jay was rightly saying that observing the information, monitoring it for deviation, it will help in both the sides, right?
Yep.
One, from the security perspective, proactively we monitor to look for deviations and also assess where we are heading in terms of cloud cost.
Yep.
In both the side, observability is going to play or is playing a crucial role in it, right? What trends are we looking at in the next 12 to 18 months, and how enterprises are going to lead in this space?
Yeah, great question. So and one of the answers I was talking about, Andrew Kapati, who's, I believe, one of the visionaries of AI. So in yesterday's, there was an interview, he spoke about 2025 is not so basically it's a year of agents people call, but he strongly believes that that will be, the whole decade will be of agents basically, right? So you're going to see, so for these agents to work, now you need to have better reasoning models. So the models are already good, but then we will start seeing that better models coming in. So that will become important. Then you will see thousands of agents that even we will start interacting with now, right? And it will get into a point, I strongly believe that in the 12 to 18 months, it will get into a point where you wouldn't be able to identify whether you're speaking to a human or you're speaking to an agent actually, right? So that's where this will eventually evolve into. That's on the large language model space. And I also believe the robotics is another area where there is a lot of things that's happening around. So a lot of things that heavy lifting that currently human does probably will be done by robots now. So I think those are the two areas where we will see a lot of. Apart from that, you have autonomous driving and other areas as well. A lot of improvements are happening. But I think these are 2-3 areas that I believe the next 12 to 18 months we will see visually that impact that we could see. That's what I believe actually.
So Jay, you closely work with Fortune 1000 customers across the globe. Based on the interactions with the top leaders, and what is your thought on the industry trend?
So again, global enterprises are generally slower and cautious in adopting, newer technologies and solutions, right? So major financial services have started putting things in production now, while GenAI has been popular for almost 2 years now, right? Agentic AI is popular for close to a year now, while they're all dabbling into it, and they're started talking to different vendors on, what is your version of agent and what sort of third-party risk management you have in place and things like that. So the adoption curve for global enterprises is about a year to 2 years behind at scale in production, right? On the contrary, I see that quantum computing is becoming something very prominent. Like how ChatGPT was 2 years back, is where quantum is today. Even though a lot of non-believers think that it's going to be 5-10 years away, I think in next 24, maximum 36 months, you will see that shaping up in production at scale. And again, that brings a lot more challenges, right? That puts the power in wrong people's hand. And again, naturally, I'm inclined towards thinking everything from the security lenses. But the quantum adoption is going to shape up pretty fast. Now, it's not a new thing, right? It's been going on since qubits and stuff we've been discussing since 2013, 2014, right? But because of emergence of data and AI, now there is the horsepower that quantum computing provides is required, and there is actual application of it, right? And anything that's applied is always going to get adopted faster and is going to be pushed. So outside of, Gen AI, agentic AI at scale, application modernization, database modernization at scale, doing modern application stack with full-on elasticity. Those are sort of table stakes use cases. In my view, the next level of innovation that's going to shape up pretty faster than most people have thought about is quantum computing. And I've been following that very closely, and I actually see the progress made. And every hyperscaler today is focused on that. That is the next big thing that they have to be prepared to stay relevant and
stay ahead.
To stay ahead and drive acceleration, right? So what we are going to see in the world of AI in general, fueled by higher capacity GPU clusters and quantum computing, is the use cases at the next level. And when making robots think as close to how humans think, quantum is going to make it happen, or at least that's what we believe, that it will make it happen. So I think I'm quite excited that Intuitive and AWS both are in this journey together, and we are at that inflection point of, we got a strong foundation, we got a huge customer base, we have mutual trust in terms of the technology adoption, but now the speed at which AI is going to get adopted, I think we are at the perfect place, perfect time to take it to the next level. So I'm quite excited for next 3 years. Future, nobody knows, but I see in next 3 years there will be a lot of action.
So definitely we live in an exciting time. There is no question about it, right? For the next few years is really, really exciting is what I would think.
Yeah.
The time is now, I think.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it has been a wonderful conversation to talk to the leaders from different perspectives and bringing in the same very important thing to the table, that how this innovation is going to shape and help the enterprise customers at scale, right? Thank you so much for your time, Jay and Praveen. It was really, really so thoughtful for me to sit and listen to you. Clearly, the future of enterprise transformation hinges on building intelligent, scalable, and secure infrastructure that drives real business value, not just technology upgrades. At Intuitive.Cloud, we are proud to partner with organizations on this journey, helping them go beyond modernization to achieve purposeful reinvention, driving to innovation. Together, we are enabling businesses not only to adapt, but to lead and thrive in the fast-changing digital age.